Tameside Radio Sports Talk with Betfred. Visit your local Betfred shop today for a variety of great offers and check out our app for great features like Pick Your Punt Builder. Whenever you bet, Betfred. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Well, hello and welcome. This is Sports Talk with me, Lewis Connell. And as always, I'm joined by Peter Spencer from Betfred. How are you today, Peter?
Yeah, great, no problems at all.
Fantastic. Well, there's only one place to start this week. Of course, the Euros get underway, Euro 2024 in Germany. And England have slipped down the odds, haven't they? They were favourites, but now they are joint favourites with France.
Yeah, France haven't had the greatest pre-season game. They drew with Canada, but England's defeat against Iceland has taken the wind out of many of the punters' sails. And also, Gareth Southgate's been left with some new thinking to be done, because there's questions being asked now about his squad selection, Jack Grealish in particular. And, you know, with Jack Grealish, he's used to playing against these huge bank defences all the time for Manchester City. 10 men back all the time. And then when England come across a team that play very defensively, such as Iceland, I'm no doubt in the group stage when the competition starts on Sunday for England, he's going to be a perfect foil. So it was a bit of an unusual one, that. When you think of Anthony Gordon and Bowen, they're used to playing against defences who are not banked like Iceland's was, breaking through. Whereas Jack Grealish is a crafty sort of player who can quite easily win a foul, holds the ball and waits for that golden opportunity. They probably think that Cole Palmer can do that kind of thing, but he struggled against Iceland. I mean, it was a very, very disappointing performance, that, against Iceland. Mainu didn't cover himself in glory, neither did Phil Foden. Phil Foden looks lightweight when he plays for England and brilliant for City. I just can't understand it. And it's not like he hasn't got great players around him, because he has in both England and City. So that was disappointing as well. Harry Kane missing a sitter. I mean, who'd have thought that? And then the worst nightmare of all, which we talked about last week, John Stones picks up a kind of injury. Yeah. So we said the worst player possible to get injured will be John Stones. Already the defence looks vulnerable. It looks even more vulnerable now. John Stones didn't have a great game. And you know, the goalkeeper, I mean, why did they bring him in? He's hardly played at all for Arsenal. Yeah. Thrown in there. The goal was a collective responsibility. There must have been 3 or 4 players. I know Maino's been blamed for it, but there's plenty of other players who can hardly hold their heads high. Stones in particular could have done more to block it, because he went through his legs, didn't it? And the keeper should have seen that coming. It just sort of crept in. So, as you say, Betfred have altered our prices on England winning the competition outright. We're now 4-1 for England to win, which is the same price as France, so we've dropped from being favourites. So France and England both 4-1 with Betfred to win the Euros outright. Spain 11-2. Spain 7-1. Germany, the host, they're 11-2. Portugal also 7-1. Italy 16-1. The Netherlands 16-1, Belgium 18-1, and effectively the winners will come from those teams, because next up we've got Denmark at 40-1, Croatia at 40-1, and for all those Scottish people out there, well, they're on the drift. Scotland 150-1. They do seem to struggle in front of goal. They have not got that striker who can put the ball in the back of the net. They've got great midfielders, okay defence, but up front, badly lacking. 150-1 Scotland to win the Euros outright with us. And then when we come to the actual games, well, Germany against Scotland. Germany 2-7 with Betfred, 11-1 for the Scottish win. A lot of Scottish people are thinking that's worth a tenner. 11-1 Scotland to pull off a shock win there in the opening game against Germany. The draw, also popular, that's 9-2. And then when we come to England against Serbia on Sunday, Serbia 7-1, England 4-9 with Betfred. a lot of our punters are getting on England 2-0, that's 11-2. England 3-0, 17-2. See, the confidence is there. People do love very, very patriotic punters out there, all back in England. But if you look at the facts, it is looking like France, Spain, Germany are definitely going to challenge us, because that performance against Iceland was very, very poor. Lots of excuses coming in about how players were looking to protect themselves from injury, etc., etc. But you got to wonder about Grealish, and I can't get it out of my mind that was an error. He's got big game experience, and also Rashford as well. He's probably a better prospect than Anthony Gordon because of his experience. It looks as if it's devoid of experienced players who've played internationally for England. So Harry Kane, 11-4 to score the first goal against Serbia. Betfred have Ivan Toney 7-2. Ollie Watkins 7-2. There's another point. Two players very, very similar. Why have they got those two players in there? No Jack Grealish. So Ivan Toney 7-2. Ollie Watkins 7-2. Cole Palmer. Can Cole Palmer play in the same team as Foden and Mainu? Fairly light players, young, light players. A lot of people are saying they should bring in Gallagher, give a bit of steel into the team. Anyway, Betfred have Cole Palmer 11-2 to score the first goal. Saka 6-1. Phil Foden, he's drifted out to 13-2. He needs a big performance for England, Phil Foden.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good few years now that Foden's been in the team, and there's not really any games that stick out to me where he's sort of had an unbelievable performance. I mean, Bellingham's been there. He's had a few great games for us. Even Saka on that right hand side, but Foden, a lot of City fans in particular have been saying that Southgate wastes him by playing him out wide. He's finally given that opportunity in the middle, and he's not really took it, has he?
No, that's a fair comment. He hasn't really taken up the mantle of being the number 10. I think there's time yet, but he does need a decent performance because there is a lot of competition in those creative attacking midfield areas of the team. He lost one of his great competitors in that area when Maddison didn't make it. He's another player. I kept thinking, could he have made a difference against Iceland? Probably, because he's got that real deft touch for the pass that's going to break through those mass defences. And if Iceland can beat us, then what's Serbia going to do? That is the big worry. Talk about golden generation. I hope I'm wrong, but there have been better England teams than this group, particularly the defence. I'm very, very worried about the England defence. Yeah,
I think Maguire's a big loss, and let's hope that John Stones' injury isn't too serious, because that really would put us in a real crisis. I mean, even the backups in Lewis Dunk, he's even injured himself, so we really would be in a crisis if Stones was to miss out. Hopefully not, though. And yeah, it's not an easy game that by any stretch. Just facing the Serbians, they're a very physical side. Lose a lot of height with Maguire staying at home. Hopefully it doesn't cost us, like you say. But I do think he might regret not taking the more experienced players in Rashford and Grealish.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. I think Luke Shaw is... Why is he gambling on Luke Shaw but not willing to gamble on Maguire? And they're both defenders, of course. There's even talk this morning, when I was hearing all the chatter on the radio about it, that they might have to bring in Kyle Walker to play at centre-half role. So we've now got a full-back playing centre-half, potentially, in this opening game. I mean, it's ridiculous. He wants to have a real good look at himself and think, have I got the balance right? And the answer to that is probably no.
Well, hopefully he can prove us all wrong, and we do start off that European campaign with a win. But just moving on to the Betfred Challenge Cup final, which of course took place over the weekend. Wigan were victorious in that one, and it was kind of went as we thought it would.
Yeah, well, Betfred did have Wigan as the favourites. They were odds on. Warrington, the Manchester United of the rugby league world, don't really know what team you're going to get, what sort of performance you're going to get when they play. They took the lead. They looked in great shape, but as soon as Wigan piled on the pressure, they just crumbled. I was disappointed with the way Warrington set about that game. They didn't seem to be up for the fight, particularly in the second half. It was a case probably of rabbits in headlights as far as Warrington were concerned. Had so many players playing in the first final, whereas for Wigan, it's a regular fixture, this, the way they go about it. They're the first team for donkey's years to hold all the 4 competitions, World title, the League Leaders Shield, Betfred Super League Grand Final, now the Challenge Cup. So the first team for, I think it's 20 odd years now, that one team has held all 4 at the same time. But they do look a class act, Wigan, and it's no surprise at all that when Betfred Super League gets underway, and we're at the halfway stage of the season now, Wigan are 5-6 with Betfred to go on and win the Grand Final again, because of the holders, of course. St Helens 5-2, Warrington 7-1, so their odds haven't been tarnished that much by the defeat against Wigan at Wembley. Hull KR, dark horses, 9-1 now, and Catalans, they're 10-1. Of the other Greater Manchester teams, Leigh 33-1, and Salford 80-1 to win the Grand Final.
And just to finish, we've got a few political odds for you as well, starting with the general election.
Yeah, after the Prime Minister decided to leave the D-Day commemorations early, it has had a significant effect on the odds. He probably wasn't going to win anyway. Probably the Conservatives accept that. But for most seats at the next general election, Betfred have Labour 1-50. 1-50 to win the most seats at the next general election. Conservatives 25-1. Reform UK, they're in now at 50-1. Liberal Democrats 300-1, and the Green Party 1,000-1. So we've got a market on the total number of Labour Party seats at the next general election. We're 5-4 that Labour will achieve 450 to 499 seats. So that's where Betfred punters think that Labour will end up come the night of July the 4th. Reform UK have shaken things up with Farage deciding that he's going to resume his leadership of the party and stand at the general election. Well, a lot of people think they'll split the Conservative vote and make it even worse for the Conservatives. But for Reform UK to win 1 to 2 seats, the 7-4. 7 or more, that's becoming popular now, 9-4. And then for the next Conservative leader, should the defeat happen and the Prime Minister decides to relinquish his leadership, well, Badenoch is 10-3, Morden 6-1, Betfred have Patel at 6-1 also, and then Suella Braverman, she's on the drift slightly, she's now out to 8-1, and then Nigel Farage, he's emerging 8-1 from 20-1 before he decided to stand. He's now 8-1 to be the next Conservative leader, big movement there. David Cameron 14-1, and on the drift is Boris Johnson. He's out to 25-1 now at Betfred to be the next Conservative leader.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, as always, for joining us. And if you do fancy a bet, you can bet online, on the app, or in Betfred stores. And we'll see you at the same time next week.
No problem.
Tameside Radio Sports Talk with Betfred. Visit your local Betfred shop today for a variety of great offers and check out our app for great features like Pick Your Punts Builder. Whenever you bet, Betfred. 18+, begambleaware.org.